I'd like to talk to you now about a brand new Buick, the 1985 Somerset Regal. In fact, the Somerset Regal is a brand new kind of Buick. I call it a world-class Buick. And after you see it, you will too. My name is Mary Denham. I'm an actress and was very happy to work on a recent film about the Somerset Regal, which you may have seen. Before that, I was in the Regal commercial, the one that ended, "Whoever's in charge of Buick, well, she must really be something." I suppose that a salesperson trying to qualify me would want to know that my husband and I earn a good income, that we both work hard for what we get, and that we know what we want in our house, in the things we do, in the way we live, and in the cars we drive. Well, what I want is a car with a lot of fine features, but one that's been designed for my personal use. I use my car to go to work, on weekends, and to drive to the city. And look, not all actresses are rich, so I don't mind a bit if the car doesn't cost a bundle. In other words, what I want is a car that complements my lifestyle. The Somerset Regal does exactly that. I know it does because I've driven it. But I'm not the only one who knows it. You see, Buick did some research on a group of cars, including the Skyhawk, Skylark, Century, rear-wheel drive Regal, and the new Somerset Regal. The results rated the Somerset Regal hands down the most personally expressive car of the group. That's why the Somerset Regal really is a new kind of car for Buick. But it's also different from any other domestic car, even the Oldsmobile and Pontiac versions. Who are your best prospects for the Somerset Regal? They include younger people like me, who look for distinctive styling, current owners of domestic compacts and subcompacts who want to move up to a Buick, women. The Somerset Regal is one of the most researched cars Buick has ever sold, and the results emphasize the strong appeal it has to women. But I want to say this too. I liked the Somerset Regal when I saw it and heard what it's all about. But I loved the Somerset Regal once I drove it. So if you want to sell the Somerset Regal, please, you must give your prospect a demonstration drive. One final note. Every feature you're about to see is standard, unless we tell you otherwise. Now I'd like to take on a new kind of role for me. And I'm so delighted with the Somerset Regal that I'm thrilled to have this chance to become a Buick salesperson and show you how I'd go about demonstrating the features of a Somerset Regal. This is the Somerset Regal Limited Coupe. It's one of the most sophisticated new front-wheel drive cars Buick has ever sold. Just look at the sleek aerodynamic shape, the sloping wedge-shaped front, and the high rear deck with the spoiler shape at the edge. Notice how the rear window is flush mounted, as is the windshield, which makes for an even sleeker shape, less wind resistance and wind noise. Do you know that the Somerset Regal is 9 inches longer than the Skyhawk, but that it's also 2 inches lower? Just on looks alone, the Somerset Regal is a knockout. Of course, the limited model also has some traditional Buick features. For example, these chrome bumpers with this bright molding around the grille, the bumper rub strips. Tungsten halogen headlamps are standard in keeping with a high level of standard features. I can't wait to give you a look under the hood. I've already released the inside lock. And notice how easily the hood rises. That's because of this hood gas assist rod. Just look at this engine compartment. It's gorgeous. No wonder they give you this underhood courtesy light. They want to make sure you see everything. These cast aluminum rocker covers match the intake manifold. Notice how neat it all looks. That's because all electrical and vacuum lines are carefully routed to create a high-tech look. If you're like me, there's a lot of maintenance you like to do yourself. Notice how clearly all the owner maintenance items are identified and how accessible they are. The engine oil dipstick, transmission oil. Right here is the air cleaner. The standard engine on the Somerset Regal is an improved version of the electronic fuel-injected 2.5-liter L4 engine with increased torque and horsepower. The The standard transmission is a 5-speed manual. The optional engine is this brand new version of the 3-liter V6 with multi-port fuel injection, which comes only with an automatic 3-speed transmission. It's the first of the smaller V6s to use the Bosch fuel rail and injectors fed by a high-pressure pump and a mass airflow sensor. Take another look in there. Do you notice there's something missing? There's no distributor. Instead, the Somerset has computer-controlled coil ignition. No distributor means no distributor to adjust. Rack and pinion power steering is standard, of course. So is the acoustic package, which helps give the Somerset Regal one of its outstanding characteristics. An incredibly quiet ride you absolutely must experience to believe. Very important in a luxurious personal car. Let's look at some more of the car. Standard tires are steel-belted, radial-ply black walls. We've put optional white walls on this Limited. Power front disc brakes are standard, with special low-drag calipers and audible wear sensor. That's the little feature that makes a chirping sound when the brake pads need replacement. Rear disc brakes are optional. The front suspension is the very proven smooth-riding Mcpherson Strut, while the rear suspension is semi-independent with a trailing crank arm. I want to be sure you notice a number of design details that make the Somerset Regal so good-looking and also help keep it that way. Bright roof drip moldings, thin black door frames, belt reveal moldings, wheel opening moldings, wide rocker panel moldings, and color-keyed body side moldings. But Buick goes even further to help keep the Somerset Regal looking good. First, tough protective plastisol is sprayed in this lower body area before the paint and molding go on. Then, clear coat enamel is applied over the entire exterior paint to give the car this wonderful depth of color and to help prevent wear of the finish. On our way to the back of the car, notice this fuel fill door. It releases from the driver's seat, and it's also standard on the Somerset Regal. Just look at this elegant rear end. In my business, people have been known to build careers on less. The trunk is very generous, with more than 13 cubic feet of space. Of course, there's a courtesy light back here to help at night. This lightweight spare tire fits snugly out of the way, unless you should ever need to replace one of the regular tires temporarily. I'll bet you can't wait to look inside. But before we do, I'd like to point out these black patch side view mirrors, one on each side, and the driver's side is remote controlled. Standard, of course. Now I'm going to give you a look at one of the handsomest interiors you've ever seen. Here's where Buick has really gone world class, as far as I'm concerned. You can put what you're about to see up against any fine car built anywhere in the world. 5-passenger seating in total luxury and comfort. Let's begin in the back. The center armrest is standard, as are the rear seat headrests. The rear seat has its own heating and ventilation duct there in the back of the full operating console, where a rear seat ashtray is also located. Access to the rear seat is made simple by the easy entry features on the passenger side. Let me show you. See? Great. Now let me show you some of the distinctive interior features. Perhaps the most obvious is the instrument panel, or instrument pod, as the designers call it. Do you know what other car has an instrument pod like this? The Porsche 928, that sells for more than $40,000. All the controls you need most are within fingertip reach. Lighting controls are on the left, while the windshield, wiper washer, and optional rear defogger controls are on the right. These switches are new low travel switches, which seem to respond instantly to a very light touch. The turn signal, high-low beam selector, and the optional cruise control work from this smartly slimmed down multifunction lever. Now you ask, where are the gauges? You're looking at them. There. The Somerset Regal is Buick's first car with a standard electronic instrument panel. The speedometer is digital. The fuel gauge expands. Watch. Now you can tell exactly how much fuel you have left below a quarter of a tank. To the right of the speedometer is this multi-gauge with voltmeter, oil pressure, engine temperature, and tachometer. Tell me that isn't distinctive. But there are other advantages to this electronic instrument panel besides being unique. Electronics are designed to last a long, long time. There's nothing mechanical to wear out or adjust. The other controls are located here in the console. This radio head at the top of the console controls a remote, electronically tuned AM radio that's standard. It may be deleted for credit, of course. There's a full line of other fine Delco radios available, too, which were designed especially for the Somerset Regal. Below the radio head are the heating and ventilating controls, optional air conditioning, and the optional cassette player. Next is the shifter. Then the controls for the optional power windows, mirrors, and last, the parking brake. Courtesy lights? Of course. In the upper quarter, on the roof a reading light, and on the doors. More conveniences include the visor vanity mirror on the right-hand visor, and this map strap on the driver's visor. When you think about owning a car like this, you should give serious thought to the optional equipment, which can make the car even more personal to you. Some of the possibilities for the Somerset Regal are really impressive. Vista vent sunroof, power seats, GM Delco Bose sound system, automatic electronic door locks, and many others. But look, there's plenty of time to go over the list in detail later. The first thing to do is to take this remarkably luxurious personal car for a demo drive. If you don't, you'll never know what you're missing. Come on, let's go. Those are some of the things your prospects will need to know if you're going to get them to take the demonstration drive that could clinch the sale for you. But there's much more you need to know about the car, under the skin. Actually, the Somerset Regal is so special, you should know about this car from the ground up. The Somerset Regal starts with the engine is mounted transversely. Both Somerset Regal engines have strong stories. This is the standard 2.5-liter electronic fuel injection 4-cylinder engine. It produces greater torque than the earlier version, which is found in the Skylark. The front cover and accessory drives are different, and the height makes possible the aerodynamic wedge shape of the front of the car. Now compare this 2.5-liter with this optional 3-liter MFI engine. It weighs only 45 pounds more than the L4 and is lighter than the 1982 3-liter V6. It's also 2 inches lower and 5 inches narrower. It took this kind of engineering miracle to get a V6 into a car as compact as the Somerset Regal. The new 3-liter MFI engine also has a new gerotor oil pump with a higher flow rate and pressure, especially at idle. Just the thing for stop-and-go traffic. All engine accessories are driven by this single, wide serpentine belt with automatic spring tensioning. The belt is designed for long life. Next come the Mcpherson Struts, the main front-end suspension. The front springs are more properly called peeled, warm-set, corrosion-protected springs. They have a smooth finish, which helps eliminate places where corrosion can occur. Plus, they're painted for extra protection. Next, the steering assembly. Power rack and pinion is standard. The rear suspension assembly is a semi-independent design with a trailing crank arm, which allows the axle to twist when either wheel goes over a bump. Add wheels and tires. The sleek body is next. Fenders are next. The front fenders are attached with a new assembly line technique. The fender and mounting block are drilled simultaneously, which provides custom fit for each car. Front and rear bumpers The fine grille is next. Next come the seats. The rear seat has room for 3. The doors are next. The hinges are bolted on for easy serviceability. Now the deck lid and the sloping hood complete the Somerset Regal. A brand new world-class Buick, ready to help you take a big bite out of one of the fastest growing segments of the new car market. The young, affluent, upscale buyers looking for the best in personal transportation.
That's a correct answer. Good work. Let's see what's next. Congratulations! You got that one right. Let's go on. That answer is right. You really know your stuff. Right again. You're very, very smart. You goofed. Let's go back and look at that section again. I'm sorry, that's not right. Let's review that material. That's another wrong answer. We'll go back to that section. You missed again on the same car. Please pay very close attention while I review this material for you.
Skylark is in its 4th decade as one of the strongest Buick nameplates. In 1980, Skylark became the first of Buick's new generation front-wheel drive cars. Skylark's success results from its tradition of economy with style. For young growing families, Skylark offers a very practical car. For working families, Skylark's compact size makes it a very practical commuting and work car. And for older, traditional buyers who no longer need a big family car, Skylark offers an economical way to retain many of the Buick luxury features and options that they don't want to give up. In other words, Skylark is one of your most valuable marketing tools to bring in new members to the Buick family as well as to keep older ones. One final note. Every feature you're about to see is standard unless we tell you otherwise. Now let's watch a Skylark presentation aimed at one family of typical prospects.
Good afternoon, Mr. and Mrs. Reed. I'm delighted that you and the children dropped by the dealership. And I'm not surprised to see that you're interested in this 1985 Skylark Limited sedan. It's an ideal car for a family such as yours with 2 young children. In fact, there's even room for a 3rd little Reed, if one decides to come along. The Skylark has room to seat 5 comfortably. You've probably been hearing the same thing from other salespeople. Well, maybe those cars seat 5 people too, but they're not Buicks. And since this is your first trip to a Buick dealership, I'd like to tell you exactly what the Buick difference is. First of all, Buicks are a cut above much of the competition. Now, you don't have to take my word for that, because you'll soon see that there are standard features on this Skylark that come only as options on some of the other cars you may have been looking at. Second, people expect a lot from a Buick. Now, isn't that why you're here? People expect quality, great comfort, and a lot of convenience from a Buick. The Skylark is one of Buick's new generation of front-wheel drive cars. Front-wheel drive makes it possible to put a very roomy interior into this compact exterior. Now, when we look under the hood, I'll show you how that was done. But the result is this 5-passenger compact car that is very efficient and economical to operate. Now, of course, Buick improves its cars in various important ways every year. For example, this grille is new this year with this wider header molding. It's handsome. And this light chestnut color is one of the brand new colors for 1985. I think it's great looking, don't you? These tungsten halogen headlamps are very useful because they generate more than twice the candle power of the regular sealed beam units you're probably used to. That's a good example of Buick value because they are standard on this Skylark Limited. Let's look under the hood. I've already released the inside lock that acts as a theft deterrent. Now you can see how the engineers managed to package a 5-passenger car so efficiently. They turned the engine sideways and connected it to the front wheels. So the same wheels that steer the car now also move the car. Now that means there's no heavy drive shaft running all the way to the back of the car. So the car weighs less, and there's more room inside for people. By the way, the 2.5-liter four-cylinder engine is standard on the Skylark. It has electronic fuel injection, which is another Buick value. It's highly fuel efficient, and it gives you excellent performance, even with the whole family in the car. The engine is secured by 4 new design hydraulic engine mounts, which helps absorb vibrations. The standard transmission on this car is a 4-speed manual, but of course, this automatic transmission is available. This fine 2.8-liter V6 engine with 2-barrel carburetor is also available. There's also an optional high-output version of the V6. Let me point out some of the other Buick values. The under-hood light, the gas hood strut, which replace the usual prop rod and make it easier to raise and lower the hood. This Delco Freedom 2 Plus battery is standard, and it's maintenance-free. Another Buick extra value is standard power rack and pinion steering. As you'll see for yourselves, the Skylark steers so easily, it feels as though you're gliding. Let's move around to the side. There are a couple of things I want to show you. Steel-belted, radial-ply, black sidewall tires are standard, but we've got the optional white sidewalls on this Limited. Both types are designed for low rolling resistance, which contributes to added fuel efficiency. The tread wear is usually longer than on the fiberglass belted tires that many cars come equipped with. Power-assisted front disc brakes are also standard. On Buicks, disc brakes have special low-drag calipers, which retract when you're not applying the brakes. This also adds to fuel efficiency. A wear indicator makes a chirping sound when it's time to replace the brake pads. Mrs. Reed, not having to worry about the brakes should make you feel good, since you'll probably be driving this car a lot during the week. Another Buick value on the Skylark is Mcpherson Strut front suspension. It not only helps the famous Buick smooth ride, but it's another feature the engineers used to make the Skylark so roomy on the inside. You know, if you're going to spend your good money on a fine car like this, I'm sure you're going to want to keep it looking as good as it does right now. Well, let me show you a few things Buick has done to help make that happen. These wheel opening moldings and wide rocker moldings and belt reveal moldings are standard on the Skylark. They really help protect the car in these areas that get a lot of wear. Now this part, under and above the rocker moldings, is sprayed with plastisol before the paint and molding are applied. Plastisol is tough and helps resist chipping by stones. The rear appearance of the Skylark is new this year. New taillights, new applique design here, and the license plate has been moved onto the bumper. When I open this trunk for you, you'll see another Skylark benefit. Just look at the size of this trunk. That's more than 14 cubic feet of cargo you can carry back here. Now that'll come in handy when you go packing up to go to Grandma's, won't it? And notice, here's another courtesy light which comes in handy when you're packing or unloading at night. This space-saving spare tire is lightweight and very easy to handle if you ever have to replace one of the regular tires temporarily. And its small size saves space back here, too. The Skylark trunk is also carpeted, which helps protect whatever you carry back here and also contributes to sound deadening. Speaking of sound, the Skylark Limited comes standard with a special acoustic insulation package which helps keep out road noise. Now, notice, when I open this rear door, the courtesy light comes on. Now, you don't get that on every car, but it's a big help when you're getting the kids settled for a long drive home. Notice these color-coordinated seat belts. They're standard. Now, before we open the front door, notice this optional remote control mirror. It matches the color of the car. Now, let's open the front door and get in. And now you can really see what I mean about extra Buick values. There are lots of new things I'd like to point out to you. The new interior colors, new fabrics, and new sew patterns on these gorgeous notchback seats. Notice this luxurious loose pillow upholstery. It's standard on the Limited. Now, the cut pile carpeting is durable, which, believe me, is important to protect this beautiful car from your beautiful kids. There are courtesy lights in all the right places, on the instrument panel, ashtray, and glove box. An electronic tone sounds as a seatbelt reminder and as a warning if you leave the key in the ignition. Listen. So as you'll see, the Skylark is a pleasure to drive. Now, one reason is how well planned everything is. This multifunction lever places the controls you use most right at your fingertips. The turn signal, 2-speed wipers, washers, high-low headlight beam selection, and the optional cruise control. It has resume and acceleration features, and it's completely electronic, which lets you adjust your speed 1 mile an hour up or down. A Delco 2000 series AM radio, which you can delete for credit, is standard in Skylark, as is a fixed-mast antenna, which is preset for optimal reception. It flexes so you can go through a car wash. And if you're really into sound, there's a whole variety of first-class Delco sound systems available, all the way up to this. An electronically tuned AM-FM combination with a cassette player and clock. You can even boost sound performance with optional extended range speakers. I tell you what. I can see that you're really interested in this 1985 Skylark. And your kids have been so good. Why don't we take it out for a nice demonstration drive? And then when we get back, I'll show you all the available Delco sound systems, and you can take your pick. Let's review the important Skylark product changes for 1985. A new model lineup. Skylark Custom Sedan. Skylark Limited Sedan. All coupes are dropped. New grille with a wider header molding. New rear appearance with an applique added between the new taillights and the license plate moved to the bumper. Many new exterior colors. New ornamentation. Some new interior colors, new custom and limited fabrics, new sew pattern on limited,